Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is leaving for the Russian city of Sochi to meet with his counterpart Vladimir Putin. The leaders will be talking about Operation Peace Spring and Turkey's peace corridor on the Syrian border. Our correspondent, Hasan Abdullah, is in Sochi and joins us now live. Hasan, Moscow says it is concerned about possible humanitarian consequences of Turkey's military operation in northeastern Syria. How does Ankara seek to allay those concerns?
Well, Rachel, the Turkish government does not agree with that assessment from the Russian Foreign Ministry. I've talked to Turkish officials and they say that this statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry is primarily designed for international consumption and secondly to gain a bit of leverage against Turkey in diplomatic terms. But Turkish officials say that the way Turkey carries out its military operations is very different from the way the US and Russia carry out their military operations. Turkish military operation is largely intelligence-based, and Turkey has refrained from targeting areas, even though it knows that the YPG is present in those areas because of the presence of what it sees as human shields by the YPG terrorist organization. Now, Turkish officials are also saying that in contrast, if you look at the way the US conducted its operation in Raqqa, more than 1,000 civilians were killed. If you look at Idlib, in just 4 months, and Turkish officials here quote the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, saying that in just 4 months, as a result of Russian and Assad bombing, more than 1,100 civilians were killed, including 200 women and more than 300 children. So Turkish officials say that such statements can be for public consumption, but they don't really mean much in real terms.
So Hasan, Moscow is calling for talks between Ankara and Damascus. Has there been a change in the Turkish government's position on Assad?
Well, the Turkish side says that in principle there is no change in the position of Ankara as far as Bashar Al Assad is concerned. They say that in principle Turkey holds Assad responsible and primarily responsible for the 500,000 civilians who have been killed in Syria. And also at the same time, Turkish officials say that they have to take a number of pragmatic considerations into account. So, for example, there is this security calculus where in some areas there is threat to Turkey from the YPG terrorist organization. In those areas, Turkey is closely carrying out assessments to see whether Bashar Al Assad's forces moving into those areas is going to eliminate the security threat from YPG. So there is this security calculus that comes in as well. And at the same time, Turkish officials are saying that ultimately what Ankara wants is to bring normality in Syria and to basically initiate a political process, a democratic process, so that this bloodshed can end and also there can be democracy in Syria. Now, for that, Ankara says that it realizes that different stakeholders may have to be on the table. So the principled position remains the same, that Assad is responsible for all the for the overwhelming majority of the bloodshed, according to Turkish officials. But as the Turkish and Russian sides discuss the formation of the Constitutional Committee, there is, of course, the possibility that down the line there may be some involvement of the Assad regime as well.
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Hasan Abdullah live in Sochi ahead of that meeting later today between the Turkish and Russian presidents.